Today's topic is going to be about defense or the CT side of defense, and I've broken it down into three general categories: preemptive defense, hard defense, soft defense. So I'll get into it. Preemptive defense is basically when you attack first to try to disrupt any kind of setup the terrorists are going for. Almost every iteration or every team has some form of this. So the point of this type of defense is you go out there and you take out fights. So good examples of this are Fur. Obviously, like he'll on Mirage, he'll go everywhere, just attack everything. Device is a great example on Trade. He has so many different angles he could take, so many different positions he could take. He's pretty unpredictable and where he is at any particular time. And he does it in a very calculated way where it's pretty obvious that he's reading into the data or the tendencies of his opponents, depending on who he's playing. Another example is Adren. He's a bit different. Like he could do some of the stuff I was talking about earlier with like Fur, but he also has this move where he does it. He's done it pretty consistently throughout the year. Where in 5v5 situations that go down towards the end of the round, he will attack right before the hit starts, and he'll get 2 or 3 kills before he gets refragged, and then that instantly ends the round, and he wins the round for his team that way before the round even gets off the ground. So that's another way to think about it. And the thing about preemptive defense is it's dangerous. All right, it gives you the highest value for it gives you the highest value because obviously a 5v4 or 5v3, like it's always great, but it can also turn around and you can go like you can do preemptive style of defense, and then you can instantly die too. So that's why it's based off of like skill, it's based off of preparation, it's based off of a few other different factors like form on the day. And I'll give an example of another team that tried to use this and failed. North used this. I forget exactly the match, but there was a match where what happened was Config, AZ, Magisk all attacked at the same time, I think. Or it might have been MSL, AZ, and Magisk attacked at the same time. It was something like that. And then here's what happened. MSL pushed B, AZ pushed mid, Magisk pushed A main, and then Magisk got the kill. But because they did this like triple attack, obviously the other two players, after Magisk gets killed, the other two players realize, oh, I don't have to do this anymore. I guess I'll back off. But they had already committed too far. So when they had their backs turned, the players, I forget which team it was, but the players on the other team realized, well, we have to push now. We have to get some kind of trade going. So they pushed forward. Oh, look, AZ's got his back turned, kill him. Oh, look, MSL's got his back turned, kill him. All of a sudden, you had a 5v4 turn into a 4v3, and that's like the dangers of like a preemptive defense. And that's why, in general, a majority of teams don't run like a triple offense, like that style of triple offense where like you send out 3 prongs of attack, because that's it's a bit gambly, it's a bit dangerous. Like it could go either way, and you don't really, and like it sends the like ground into chaos basically. So it's very dangerous, and that's why when teams do that, they generally have either their star player do it or one of their star players do it, or they have like a player who is very good at a very specific situation or a very specific position do it. So for instance, Zeus at Pop Dog might do it. Zeus at Long Cobble, even though he's not a star player, like he's decent at that like preemptive kind of style of defense, right? So that's an example of that. And the next type of defense I'll talk about is hard defense, and this is what was like traditional, I guess. It's where like the site hits, and then you anchor down the site, and then you fight them. And the thing about this is like obviously every team has this. The question, of course, is I think of all the different like defenses, this one's based mostly on 2 things. It's based off of the skill of the day and how well the CT sided players are reading the like hit or like the small details of the hit when the hit comes, and adjusting to it as time goes on. So for instance, like Coldzera was pretty brilliant at this when he was playing big on Inferno at the Krakow Major, because he was but I will say the fact is that, you know, he got you had a bunch of demos before like they actually had to play. So yeah, he could figure it out before it ever happened. But that's like an example of something. That's an example of like I wasn't so much as skill, so much as him like just preparing, because he was like adjusting. I assume it was him, but it could just been Taco. But basically, they were adjusting the positions to like counter the setups, counter like the splits, counter like the hits of Big, because of the way like Big does their execute, where they basically throw the nades, divide the site into sections, and then take out each section. So, for instance, when they hit A, because it's A we're talking about, they'll throw the nades, they'll throw the flashes, and they'll take out balcony, they'll take out pit, and then they'll hit the site. Whereas when they did that against this team, what happened is they took out balcony and take out pit, and they realized, oh, nobody's in balcony or pit. They're either both on graveyard, one's graveyard, one's in site, or both are both in site, and they're like changing where they are in the site. Or sometimes it was like stuff like this, right? So that's why it's hard defense is it's hard to read or evaluate if someone's doing a good job of it or not, because you have to be very in tune into the small details of the hit, and you obviously can't see that on any particular game because the observer can't like follow everything all the time. So that's an idea of what the hard defense is, and obviously like somebody like Bialy's a good choice for example of a player who's very good at hard defense, but not necessarily like a player who's like adjusting. It's more like he sits down and then he kills two, I guess. I mean, that's what he is when he's good, but most of the time when he's not good, he doesn't kill anything. So that's why he's so inconsistent, and like he can really pull Virtus Pro over the edge when he is on, because like when he is on, he'll consistently get 1 or 2 kills each time on the hard defense, and that helps so much for the team when they do a retake, or he might just kill the round instantly with just his 2 kills, right? So that's in general style hard defense. And finally, there's soft defense, and this is a bit more vague, but it's basically a similar transitional defense, where the point of soft defense is you're not trying to like stand your ground and fight to the death. What you're trying to do is you're trying to take a forward position, but unlike preemptive defense, you're not out there looking for a fight. You're out there looking for an easy, safe opening or safe information pick. So a good example of this is Astralis and how they use a device on Inferno, or even device on Mirage. So here's an example. When in Inferno, if device or Astralis ever gets B control, what will happen is they'll smoke it off, rotate device over, and then leave him there solo and move the other 4 to A. And the purpose of this is the fact that because he has the op, he will always get 1 pick off before he can back off without ever getting refragged. Or the chances of getting refragged are incredibly low. So that's the basic idea of that. So he's getting like a free pick, so to speak, but he's not out there looking for a fight. He's controlling that area of space, but it's like soft control, where if it was tested too hard, it would obviously be pushed back, right? So that's kind of what I'm thinking. And like Astralis do the same thing on Mirage, but it's a bit harder to do on that map because of the way the map is shaped. But basically, if they get B control, they might do a thing where they rotate everybody to A and then just leave device peeking into B halls, and that's another way they like to set up the defense. So it's a combination. So in that specific example of Astralis, they have a combination of soft and hard defense, where one side is soft defense and the other side is hard defense. And the soft defense, like the point of that is you're supposed to survive pretty long, and you're supposed to survive longer. You might get a kill, and this gives the time for your team to rotate over. Whereas the hard defense is you have to defend now. You have to kill like 1 or 2 of them, or your team is done. And this is obviously a problem for some teams, I guess, because it comes down to both. It comes down to a lot of different factors: skill, teamwork, form. And I always felt that if you're not, how do I say this? It's always hard to know exactly how to get it to work. So, for instance, I know FaZe had a phase before Guardian and Olaf Meister joined, the Nico Kiyoshima Alu lineup, Rain, Kerrigan too. That team had a pretty hard time with anything that wasn't a hard defense. What I mean by that is they couldn't. Their CT sided setups weren't like adjusted to each other the same way somebody like Astralis or other teams are, where sides of the defense were both hard defense. So neither side was like really prepping or helping each other. In general, like you want one side to have like a softer defense and the other side have harder defense. I guess it's theoretically speaking, because if you have both sides hard defense, what happens is hard defense is more about killing them and like standing your ground, whereas like soft defense is more like surviving longer. Or maybe you want a combination of the players that can do that, if you get what I mean. So like Taco for instance is a great example of like a soft defense type of player, where like his job is never to die, his job is to stay alive and like be as annoying as possible for the other team to take out. So and because of that, he'll always buy time, and that's why he's like arguably like one of the better soft defense type players in the game. So that's how I've been categorizing it. And as to how you set these up, it really depends on the type of players you have. So for instance, North had a problem in that they had too many aggressive elements. They had Magisk, AZ, MSL, Config. The only semi-defensive element they had was Cajun B, and they didn't really have a good element that could do either. They had like elements in their team that could do preemptive defense or like hard defense, but they could never do like good soft defense. And like, okay, I'll give an example like a bad preemptive defense. Like on Cash, one time I saw them do like a triple attack. So they had MSL attack B, they had AZ attack mid, they had Magisk attack A. And then here's what happens, and this is why it's dangerous to do this kind of style, is Magisk gets the kill, so AZ, MSL back off, but the enemy team realizes, oh, we need to get a kill on the other side of the map. Let's go push and see what's happening. Oh, look, we have MSL and AZ both out of position. They both die, so you have a 5v4 turn into a 4v3. And this is generally why like only star players do that. Or star players or like specific types of players are allowed to do that position, right? So it's very dependent upon the players, upon their tendencies, and even like their mental control or like their mental habits. And those are just my general thoughts for now. I mean, there's more to it than that, but I think this is a good place to stop. See you later.